Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Double Play. Ryan, I guess we can't quite call this one a podcast episode.
No, today we're talking about Ronald Acuña, and please consider leaving a like and subscribe and a comment down below what you think about Ronald Acuña's return. So there's no question that Acuna was playing at an MVP caliber last season before he tore his ACL. In 82 games, basically a half season, he was hitting 283, getting on base at 394 with a 596 slugging with 24 bombs, 52 RBIs, 157 WRC plus, and a 4.3 WAR. And that's basically half a season. If you double that, that's 48 bombs, over 100 RBIs, almost a 9 WAR season. So there's no question he would have been MVP candidate last season. He was just putting up great numbers. And with the Braves last season, they were 41-41 at the time of his injury. They had just won that game to get to 500. And it looked like the season could pretty much be over for the Braves after being 500, losing their All-Star game starter in Acuna to the torn ACL. I mean, Jack, it really just was not looking good for the Braves when they lost Acuna.
Yeah, I know they had Freddie Freeman, who was technically MVP the year before, but there was no question Acuna is the Braves' best player and was the Braves' best player last season. And you're right. I think everyone in baseball kind of wrote them off once we saw him go down out in right field. That was, first of all, just like kind of a heartbreaking injury and heartbreaking for the game of baseball because of how well he was doing. You mentioned the stats. A 9-WAR season is easy MVP levels. 157 WRC plus is incredible. Would have hit almost 50 home runs while hitting close to 300. I think no doubt would have been the MVP for me. And we saw the Braves after that injury still go on and win the World Series too. I don't know how that happened, but I guess Eddie Rosario and Jorge Soler kind of morphed into Ronald Acuña Jr. if you combined them all together. But they finished the season 47-32, won the division, eventually won the World Series. So still a successful season for the Braves last year. Haven't quite been off to as hot of a start this year, but they're getting their main man back, Ronald Acuña Jr.
Yeah, like I mentioned, we all kind of wrote off the Braves after the injury, and it turned out to almost be a blessing in disguise. Obviously, you would have loved to have Acuna to see what that Braves team could do. But I think without Acuna going down, the Braves might not make the moves they did in getting Eddie Rosario, Jorge Soler, like you mentioned, Jock Peterson as well, 3 big contributors down the stretch and into the postseason for them. So who knows what would have happened? It's just a big what if Acuna never got hurt, because like I said, they were 500 at the time. There's no question he makes their team better now, but it's just interesting what if to think about because they wouldn't have made those moves at the time.
Yeah,
But
and I think we can get into what happened this season because Braves fans already know what happened last season. They got a ring to prove it. But this year, we saw Ronald Acuña back for the first time yesterday. He had not played in any games in the spring. We had seen him take some batting practice, and it looked good. He was hitting bombs. I think I remember in our first episode, actually, one of our quick hitters was him hitting bombs on a old dirt field somewhere. And we were excited by the possibility of having him back in the sport. But now he's coming back yesterday. Didn't have the best of games, but he came back, and that's the thing to focus on.
yeah, and after the World Series run they made, the shift kind of focus shifted onto when will Acuna come back for this team. And I mean, he ended up with a quick recovery. We saw him in spring training taking batting practice, but didn't really played in a few simulated games, but didn't really play. And then starting his rehab assignment, we expected to see him May 6th. And we're making this on Friday, the 29th. He ended up making his debut on Thursday, the 28th, which is over a week before he was supposed to. So he had the quick recovery, and in his rehab assignments, he hit 368, 19 at bats with a 941 OPS, stole 6 bases. And I mean, he looked good defensively. So he really proved he can move on that knee. The knee was looking healthy in his spring training games. And this is my favorite part. He got the call. So it would have been Wednesday night or Thursday morning at 1 a.m. He said he was playing Call of Duty when Alex Anthopoulos gives him the call and says, "You want to play right field for the Braves tomorrow?" And he starts celebrating like it's just like he was just called up, like it's some big prospect. But I mean, that's awesome. You love the guy. He's a lovable guy. He's one of my favorite players in the league. That's not on the Dodgers, of course. And he's just a player who plays with lots of energy and passion for the game without being too cocky about it. And it's just something you love about the guy. It's one of the bright young stars in this game, and you just love to see it. Love to see that he was back and healthy looking great.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, it is like adding a top tier prospect to your team. You're getting him. It's not all the way in the middle of the season, but it's a couple weeks in, and you're adding a prospect basically who's just on a rehab assignment, but that prospect turns out to be one of the top 3 best players in baseball. You can even, I mean, probably top 4. I know people would want to put Ohtani and maybe even Soto over him as well. But he's going to come in and he's going to instantly become the best player on this Braves team. And for a team that lost Freddie Freeman in the offseason, replaced him with Matt Olson, to be able to get a guy like Ronald Acuña back, you're going to get Braves fans back into it. It's going to be a whole new level in the clubhouse. They're 8-11 so far. They have not won a series yet. 24th in team defensive runs saved. They just have not been able to pitch all that well. I just think that this is going to totally revitalize this Braves lineup. In preseason, I didn't have them winning the NL East, but I think that this is like that catalyst that if they're going to do it, it's going to be on the back of Ronald Acuña Jr. It's going to be on the back of what he can turn around in this clubhouse.
Yeah, you mentioned he's like a prospect coming up, and it's at a time where they needed it. You mentioned the 8-11 through, or they're 9-11 now. They had just won last night in his debut. So through 20 games, they hadn't won a series, but they behind Ronald Acuña, they win the series against the Cubs. They start a road trip now. I will actually be going to the game tonight against the Rangers, so I'm excited to see. Hopefully he plays. Original report says he's not playing, but he wants to play, I heard, so I don't know.
Maybe he got another call at 1 a.m. playing like
hopefully. So I'm just trying to waiting for that lineup card to come out. Hopefully he's on it, so I get to see him play, but I'm excited to go. But yeah, you mentioned defensively, he's going to be a big boost as well. I mean, we know the offense, but he's a great defender, and it's 24th in defensive run save. They need this. They're a team that's kind of struggling, and they now have to push the Mets. So it's going to be tough for them. But season debut last night, they get the win over the Cubs, the series win. You mentioned it a little bit, but he goes 1 for 5. So he was chasing a little bit, but I mean, that's kind of expected. He only had 19 at bats in his rehab assignments, where you get like 50 during spring training. So he wasn't, and he was seeing AAA pitching the whole time. So there'll be a little bit of a learning curve coming back after almost, I think, 9 to 10 months of rehab and not seeing major league pitching. So, I mean, he was chasing some pitches, like I said, but he had 2 stolen bases, looked good in the outfield. So the knee's looking good, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, I think one thing that people really worry about when you come back from an ACL injury is how can you move on it? Can you go make those plays with 100% confidence like you would have before on your previous knee? But we saw that one clip. I know it went viral for him dapping up the player in the outfield, but that was a running catch that he made that honestly, if I were to tear my ACL, I'd be a little bit nervous about running and making a play that close to the wall. That's the play we saw him tear it on last year and right. So they're 24th in defensive run save, but I think he's going to be confident enough on that knee. He definitely looks the part to be able to help that out. I think we could even see him play some center field. So I'm super excited to have Ronald Acuña back. You're right. He was chasing pitches, but I think with a guy like Ronald Acuña Jr., we've seen it with guys like Tatis, with guys like Juan Soto. Those are the kind of guys that don't really have learning curves. They come out and they hit MLB pitching. That's what Juan Soto did at 19 years old. It's what Acuña did when he got pulled up. So I'm really confident in him. I had him as my MVP coming into the year. Was a little wary of that because he was going to miss a couple weeks, but he's out 8+ days before we thought he was going to be back. He's already got a game under his belt. 2 stolen bases is huge in just his first game coming back from a torn ACL. And so far, I don't think anyone has hugely separated themselves in the National League for the MVP award. We've seen guys like Seiya Suzuki and Nolan Arenado have good starts to the season. But I'm pretty confident that Ronald Acuña, if he plays the level I thought he was going to, can still win the award despite missing around 20 games.
Absolutely. And I think we saw the numbers he put up last season. He played in 82, I believe. He got hurt in like the 88th game. So he had missed 6 games already. I mean, he misses 20 here. But if he goes and plays and just, I mean, he one thing that will help him now is the DH in the National League. He'll get a lot of games there, take a break on that knee while also still being in the lineup and putting up the offensive production needed to win the MVP and the games played as well. So with the DH, I think he can definitely go out and win the award. I think it'll be tough for him though. I think missing 20 games will hurt him, especially coming back. Coming back early too. They're going to kind of slowly get him into it. They don't want to risk anything because to be honest, the Braves aren't worried about him getting an MVP this season.
Yeah.
He's only, I believe, 24, so he's got plenty of MVP caliber years ahead of him. So I think the Braves are going to prioritize his health over getting him an MVP. But I think the way we know he can play and we know he'll want to be on the field, I think there's definitely a chance for that. And
you're right too that they don't need him to win. And I think for him, it's probably more important to get on the field with the defending World Series champions that he's on the team, but he didn't really get to be a part of. And now he gets a chance to play with Matt Olson. He gets a chance to play with Eddie Rosario. He gets a chance to play with guys that they're having like Kyle Wright so far, who just carved up for my fantasy team yesterday against you. So I think it's going to be really exciting for Acuna. He'll get to be back with his buddy Ozzie Albies. Austin Riley really started to pop off when Acuna was hurt. So they've got a ton of pieces up and down that lineup. I'm sure they're going to figure it out. Do you think though that they can come back and win the NL East to kind of round out this little video?
It'll be tough. Like we mentioned, their slow start through 20 games, but getting Acuna back will be a big lift for them. Not only on the field and level of production, swinging the bat, and in the field, it'll also be a big boost for the team morale in the clubhouse. He's a lovable guy for that team. So, I mean, it's a tough task. They're chasing the Mets, who've looked really good, and the Mets haven't even had DeGrom yet. DeGrom will come back at some point. So it'll definitely be a tough task for a team that's had a slow start and is chasing a team with a strong start. But I think it's definitely possible. And at the beginning of the year, I mean, the Braves, they had a slow start last season as well. At the beginning of the year, I predicted the Braves still win the NL East. I believe at 1 or 2 games over the Mets. I know you had the Mets. Well, I'll let you talk about that. But I still think this Braves team, at this moment, I think the Braves team will win the NL East with Acuna coming back.
Wow, I definitely can't hate it. What we've seen from the Mets this season, though, has been pretty impressive. And the one thing I think that Acuna won't affect quite as much as the pitching, which has been really where the Braves have struggled so far this year. Morton doesn't look like his normal self. We've seen good games from Fried. Kyle Wright's been great so far, but Ian Anderson hasn't looked like he did in that postseason. So I'm a little bit worried about the pitching. Do I think that they can come back and push the Mets, though? Yes, much more than they have so far this season. I think it's going to be close. Like, I only had the Mets winning by a game or 2 as well. So I think it'll come down to that. It's really a toss up, but for people that may be worried with an 8-11 start and not winning a series that the Braves might miss the playoffs, I definitely think Acuna is pretty solidly going to bring the Braves back into the playoffs at least.
Absolutely. It'll be fun to watch. Every one of Acuna's at-bats have turned into must-see TV over the last few years. So it'll be exciting to watch the Braves down the stretch to see what they can do with Acuna coming back. But before we wrap this up, any last words about Acuna coming back and the Braves for the rest of the season?
Well, I hope you get to see him tonight. That's the thing. Like, I have the worst luck too when I'm going to see teams with players that are like, because I've got like a mental list of players you want to see live before they retire. I went to a Angels Giants game last year because I wanted to see Ohtani and Trout. And a couple days before Trout gets injured, and that's the one day they give Ohtani a day off, and then they bring him in as a pinch hitter in the 9th inning, and he gets walked on 4 pitches. It was the worst thing. I just have bad luck. I've seen the Braves too after Acuna got hurt last year. So got to see Freddie Freeman at least, but I hope you get to see him today.
Me too. And I'll get to see my favorite player, as everyone knows, Corey Seager as well, since he left the Dodgers and with the Rangers. So I'm wearing my Dodgers Seager jersey to the game tonight. I usually can't justify wearing other teams' jerseys to a game where they're not playing, but it's a Seager jersey. So I'm allowing myself. So I'm good. You just love to see stars, like you mentioned. And I really hope Acuna's in the lineup playing outfield. We've got some outfield seats. So I'm hoping we're in left field and the outfield. So I'm hoping Acuna hits a bomb and I get to catch it in the outfield. That'd be pretty cool to come back to.
That would be pretty awesome.
Hopefully he plays, and I'm just excited to go.
Yeah, I'm going to Dodgers Tigers tonight. Not going to see quite the star power. I don't think that you are with Seager and Semien and Acuna and Riley and Freeman. And I'm seeing Tyler Anderson versus Tyler Alexander, I'm pretty sure, is a pitching matchup. So I'm still liking it. And then I'm going to go on Tuesday to Dodgers and Giants. I think I'm going to see Carlos Rodon on the bump as well. So super pumped for that. Get to go to 2 Dodgers games to kind of end my time here in LA before we both go home. And we're going to get some in-person episodes coming from the heart of San Jose, California.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. I think
too.
We've got a good idea in our head of what they're going to look like. And I think you guys are really going to like it.
Yeah. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this. It's kind of a mix between a podcast episode and a video. And once we get less schoolwork, we can do more of these things, and let us know what topics you guys want us to cover if we end up doing that. If you want us to post it on other platforms as well, other than YouTube as well, to listen to it in the car, on your run, anything like that, just let us know. But anyways, if you're on YouTube, please consider hitting the like button, leaving a comment about Acuna. Do you think he comes back, wins MVP? Do you think the Braves win the NL East? Absolutely. Let us know down in the comments. We'd love to talk about it. And Ryan can let you know whether he caught a home run ball or not. And then also hit the subscribe button, leave a like, everything like that. Hit the notification bell. Thank you guys for listening or watching. We've been the Double Play.